September 26, 1983. While the world slept in an uneasy peace, the machinery of the Cold War was grinding toward a catastrophic conclusion. Deep within the Serpukhov 15 bunker, a top-secret Soviet early warning center, the silence of the night was about to be shattered forever. Suddenly, the calm was broken. A siren wailed and red emergency lights began to pulse, casting a blood-red glow over the cold steel. On the main command screen, a single terrifying word appeared in bold Cyrillic script. Start. The system had detected a nuclear launch. Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov sat at the center of this storm. His duty was clear: report the attack and initiate a retaliatory strike. Around him, the bunker personnel were in a frenzy. Dial after dial confirmed the unthinkable. 5 American Minuteman missiles were airborne. The computer system showed a 100% reliability rating for the detection. To Petrov's colleagues, there was no doubt. The war had begun. Petrov watched the screen, his mind racing. If this was an attack, why only 5 missiles? A full-scale strike would involve hundreds. He imagined the silos opening in the American Midwest, the fire and fury of the Minuteman missiles tearing through the sky toward Moscow. Minutes were all he had. In the logic of mutually assured destruction, every second wasted meant millions more dead on his own side. Petrov reached for the phone. His hand hovered over the receiver, trembling under the weight of a decision that would decide human history. The air in the bunker felt heavy, filled with the smell of ozone and the heat of thousands of vacuum tubes and processors. He looked at his team, young soldiers waiting for his command. He knew that if he reported a strike, the Soviet response would be automatic. Trust the computer or trust his gut? The sensors insisted the missiles were real, but Petrov's intuition told him something was wrong. He finally picked up the phone, but he didn't call for a launch. He reported a system malfunction, a false alarm. Then he waited. If he was wrong, the first American warheads would strike within minutes. He would be the man who let Russia burn. 10 minutes passed, then 20. No explosions occurred. The world remained silent. The missiles were merely sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds. Petrov had been right. His refusal to follow protocol saved billions of lives. He had single-handedly prevented the end of civilization. For years, his story remained a state secret. Stanislav Petrov died in 2017, a man the world barely knew, yet to whom the world owes everything. As we look at the Earth today, we must remember how fragile our peace truly is, and the man who chose logic over fear. The 1983 incident remains a sobering reminder that the fate of the world can sometimes rest in the hands of a single person.
26th, 1983. Deep within the Serpukhov 15 bunker, the air is thick with the scent of stale tobacco and cold industrial grease. Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov sits at the center of the Soviet Union's nuclear early warning system. His job is simple: watch the screens, follow the protocol. The silence of the midnight shift is shattered by a piercing siren. A single word flashes in bright, rhythmic Cyrillic on the main monitor. Launch, then another, then another. 5 American Minuteman missiles are supposedly screaming across the Atlantic, destined for the heart of the Soviet Union. The room freezes. The young officers look to Petrov. According to every manual, every drill, he must report a confirmed strike. The response would be total. Petrov stares at the grainy radar. 5 missiles, only 5. Why would the United States start a world-ending war with such a small, isolated strike? He rubs his temples, trying to block out the screaming alarms. In this moment, time doesn't exist. There is only the weight of every human life on Earth. The computer claims the data is accurate. The machine does not lie. But Petrov's gut tells him a different story. It is a terrifying, lonely hunch. He looks down at a small, worn photograph tucked into his notebook, a reminder of a world that would vanish in minutes if he is wrong. He stands up, then sits back down. The movement is heavy, as if the gravity in the bunker has suddenly doubled. The clock is ticking toward 0. He picks up the receiver. His lips are dry, his voice a ghost of itself. False alarm. He tells the duty officer, It is a system malfunction. The minutes pass in agonizing silence. If he is wrong, the first explosions will occur any second. He waits for the fire that never comes. He was right. A satellite error. A glitch. Stanislav Petrov saved the world that night. Not with a weapon, but with the courage to doubt. He would die years later in relative obscurity. A man who carried the heaviest secret of the Cold War with a quiet, somber dignity. We live today because one man decided that the machine was wrong and humanity was worth the risk. He was the man who saved the world.
Imagine a quiet night, suddenly shattered by the piercing alarm of an incoming attack. A false alarm, yet terrifyingly real. In the heart of a bunker, military personnel scramble, their faces etched with fear and disbelief. Every second counts. The report, an enemy strike is imminent. The chilling reaction is immediate, a cascade of irreversible decisions. Across the globe, in another command center, a similar scene unfolds. The tension is palpable, the stakes unimaginable. High-stakes decision-making under immense pressure. The terrifying speed of potential retaliation is breathtaking. Animated graphics illustrate the trajectory of hypothetical missile launches, crisscrossing continents in seconds. Once initiated, the chain reaction is unstoppable. The logic of retaliation demands an immediate response. From hidden silos, ICBMs ignite, roaring into the sky, leaving trails of fire and smoke. Deep beneath the waves, submarine missile tubes fire, adding to the growing arsenal of destruction. Strategic bombers take off from airfields, carrying their deadly payloads towards distant targets. The visual representation of a full-scale nuclear exchange is horrifying, a symphony of light and thunder. Then, the silence, followed by the blinding flash. Mushroom clouds begin to rise over major cities. The immediate devastating impact is beyond comprehension. Buildings crumble, infrastructure vanishes. Civil defense preparations, once a symbol of hope, are now rendered utterly futile against such power. Human fear and helplessness are overwhelming. The world as we knew it, gone in an instant. The aftermath, a somber montage of a post-apocalyptic landscape. A world plunged into nuclear winter. The long-term consequences are unimaginable. Societal collapse, the loss of everything humanity built. The ultimate cost of such a conflict is not just lives, but the very fabric of civilization itself. The fragility of peace, a lesson etched in the ashes of a hypothetical war that almost became reality. The Cold War may be over, but its lessons endure. The threat of nuclear weapons remains a stark reality. We must remember the terrifying logic of retaliation and the global catastrophe it nearly unleashed. It is our collective responsibility to prevent such a future, to safeguard peace for generations to come. Let history be our guide, a powerful warning against the ultimate folly of nuclear war. The choice is ours. September 26, 1983. The world teetered on the brink of nuclear annihilation. Deep within this bunker, a critical decision would soon determine humanity's fate. This was a chilling moment when history held its breath, a terrifying Cold War reality. Suddenly, the screens lit up with ominous launch warnings. Multiple intercontinental ballistic missiles were detected, supposedly from the United States. The protocol was clear: retaliate immediately. The machine screamed war. But amidst the blaring sirens, a quiet doubt began to form in Petrov's mind. He looked at the clunky analog technology, now seemingly condemning them all. Petrov's mind raced. He noticed a crucial detail. Only a few missiles were detected. A real first strike, he reasoned, would be an overwhelming, all-out barrage. This discrepancy was the first crack in the facade of certainty. Frantic checks for corroborating radar data yielded nothing. No confirmation. No, the system relied on multiple confirmations, yet none were forthcoming. His gut instinct, honed by years of service, screamed that this was a mistake. A true attack would be comprehensive, leaving no room for doubt or hesitation. It was an internal struggle, protocol versus intuition, logic against terrifying certainty. The pressure was immense. Subordinates urged him to follow procedure, to report the attack, triggering a retaliatory strike that would doom millions. The alarms continued their deafening cry, each pulse a demand for action. But Petrov, with clarity born of immense pressure, made his choice. He declared it a system malfunction, a false alarm, not a real attack. The weight of that decision, to defy protocol, was unimaginable. Slowly, the control room began to calm. The red lights dimmed, but the tension, the lingering fear of what almost was, remained palpable. Stanislav Petrov's singular act of defiance averted a global catastrophe. His refusal to blindly follow automated warnings saved the world from nuclear winter. He was not hailed as a hero at the time. His actions were initially kept secret. But his story stands as a powerful testament to human judgment in high-stakes situations. The fragility of peace, the immense power of a single decision, are lessons we must never forget. September 1983. At the height of the Cold War, the world was a powder keg, waiting for a single spark to ignite global catastrophe. High above the atmosphere, the Soviet Oko satellite served as a silent sentinel, scanning the United States for any sign of a missile launch. Inside the Serpukhov 15 secret bunker, the routine of late-night surveillance was about to be shattered by the impossible. Suddenly, a piercing alarm filled the room. Red warning lights, translated into deep, pulsing grays on screen, flashed with terrifying urgency. The computer system was clear. It registered the heat signature of an incoming intercontinental ballistic missile, then a second, then a third. But the apocalypse wasn't being fueled by rocket engines. It was being triggered by a rare, beautiful, and deadly optical error. The sun had reached a perfect, unintended angle. Its light reflected off high-altitude clouds directly into the satellite's sensitive infrared sensors. To the machine, the thermal intensity of the sunlight was indistinguishable from the fiery exhaust of a Titan II missile. The logic of the system was binary. It saw heat, it saw movement, and it concluded that the end of the world had begun. At the center of this storm was Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov. His face was etched with the strain of an impossible choice. Sweat beaded on his brow as he stared at the flashing screens. Protocol demanded he report a confirmed attack to the Soviet High Command. If he reported it, a retaliatory strike would be launched within minutes. Billions would die based on the word of a computer. His hand hovered over the red telephone. The heavy silence of the bunker was punctuated only by the rhythmic ticking of a wall clock. Petrov had a gut feeling. If the Americans were truly attacking, why would they only send 5 missiles? It didn't make strategic sense. He chose to trust his intuition over the technology. He flagged the alert as a false alarm, gambling the fate of the Earth on a hunch. Minutes passed like hours. Every person in that room waited to see if the horizon would erupt in nuclear fire. This incident highlights a terrifying contradiction: the immense power of our weaponry versus the extreme fragility of the systems that control them. We have built machines capable of destroying civilizations, yet they can be fooled by something as simple as sunlight hitting a cloud. Imagine a massive, heavy iron chain, where one single link is made of thin, brittle glass. That is the state of our global security. The 1983 incident was not an isolated failure of Soviet technology. It was a revelation of a universal technological flaw. As the sun continued its path across the sky, the angle of reflection shifted. The false heat signatures vanished from the satellite's view. The red lights in the bunker finally ceased their frantic pulsing. The alarm died down, leaving behind a heavy, ringing silence. Outside the concrete walls of the bunker, the world continued to turn, oblivious to how close it had come to the end. Cities remained standing, families remained asleep, and the dawn broke over a world that had no idea it had been spared. But the lesson of Serpukhov 15 remains. As we move toward more automated systems, the human factor becomes our only safeguard. In an era of AI and lightning-fast algorithms, the danger of a technical misinterpretation is higher than ever before. We must ask ourselves, are we prepared for the moment when the machine is wrong and there is no Stanislav Petrov to stop it? The fragility of our existence is a chilling reality we often ignore in the name of progress and efficiency. The 1983 incident was a warning from history, a warning that we live in a world where a single cloud can end everything. History is not just a record of what happened, but a guide for what might happen again if we are not careful. May we always have the wisdom to question the machines and the courage to choose peace over protocol. History is often written in blood, but sometimes the greatest stories are written in the silence of a choice not made. In a small apartment outside Moscow, an old man sits by a frosted window, watching a world that doesn't know his name. The mundane rhythm of his life, the whistling kettle, the ticking clock, belies the weight of a memory that could have ended time itself. September 1983, the height of the Cold War. Inside the Serpukhov 15 bunker, the air was thick with the scent of ozone and electricity. Suddenly, the warning sirens tore through the silence. A single word flashed on the screen: launch. 5 missiles, incoming from the United States. Protocol demanded immediate retaliation. The survival of his nation rested on his next word. But something didn't feel right. Petrov looked at the flashing lights and saw a ghost in the machine, not a declaration of war. He disobeyed. He reported a system malfunction. He bet the lives of billions on his own intuition. The world never felt the fire he prevented, and for his clarity, he was rewarded with obscurity and official reprimand. His career was dismantled by bureaucrats who cared more for protocol than the fact that they were still alive to enforce it. The bunker where he saved humanity is now a tomb of cobwebs and rusted iron, much like the memory of his deed. He eats his soup in silence, a man who once held the fate of the earth in his palm, now forgotten in a crumbling apartment. His shaking hands pour tea. In a drawer, medals gather dust. They are symbols of a service the state refused to celebrate. He does not ask for thanks. He only watches the clock, knowing that every tick is a second he gave back to us. Stanislav Petrov, the man who saved the world by simply saying no. September 26, 1983. The world is asleep, entirely unaware that it is teetering on the precipice of total nuclear annihilation. The Cold War has reached a fever pitch. In Washington and Moscow, leaders watch the horizon, waiting for a spark to ignite the final conflict. Deep underground, within the secret Serpukhov 15 bunker, a man named Stanislav Petrov begins what he believes will be an ordinary night shift. The air is thick with the smell of stale cigarettes and the constant rhythmic hum of early computer cooling fans fighting the subterranean heat. Petrov takes his seat. He is a lieutenant colonel, the man responsible for interpreting the data from the Soviet Union's early warning satellites. Suddenly, the silence is shattered. A piercing alarm screams through the bunker, and a single word flashes on the screen: launch. 1 missile, then 2. The system is reporting a wave of American Minuteman missiles rising from the silos of the United States. 5 missiles. The computer's reliability level is highest. According to the protocol, Petrov must immediately alert the high command to launch a counterstrike. Around him, young soldiers stand frozen, their eyes locked on him, waiting for the order that will end the world as they know it. Petrov picks up the phone. His hand trembles. He has only minutes. If he reports a strike, billions will die in the ensuing firestorm. But something feels wrong. 5 missiles. Why would the United States start a war with only 5? It is a tactical absurdity. He trusts his intuition over the machine. He speaks into the receiver, reporting a false alarm, a system malfunction. He hangs up and waits. For 13 agonizing minutes, the bunker is silent. He waits to see if the horizon will ignite, wondering if he has just doomed his nation. Had he been wrong, these would have been the final moments of human civilization. New York, London, Moscow, all reduced to radioactive ash. A world of art, memory, and love, erased in a heartbeat by a computer glitch and a failure of human judgment. But the sky remains dark. The missiles never arrive. The computer had mistaken sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds for the flare of rocket engines. The 13 minutes are over. Petrov walks out of the bunker as the first light of dawn touches the Russian landscape. He lights a cigarette, looking out at a world that has no idea it was almost lost. Civilization survived because one man refused to panic. From the distance of space, our planet appears as a fragile ember, a lone sanctuary of light in a vast cold darkness. In Tokyo, Paris, and Rio, millions live their lives, go to work, and fall in love, never knowing how close the end came. The machines of war still sit in their silent silos, cold and waiting. The peace we enjoy is a fragile construction of human choice. Stanislav Petrov passed away in 2017. He never considered himself a hero, yet we owe him our existence. In the face of technological certainty, he chose human doubt. In the face of fear, he chose the survival of us all. The 13 minutes that nearly destroyed humanity serve as a permanent reminder. The fate of the world rests in the hands of the individuals who guard it.